There we go. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good week thus far. Of course, as always, gonna wait a few minutes, see if we can get some more people to come in. I hope everybody's having a good day today. Um, yeah. Anyways, just give me a sec. I gotta also and and I'll be right back here. I'm gonna go ahead and put some music on for a moment. Just had to take care of something real quick here. I can't stay, but stop by to say hi and give you well, thanks, Lorenzo. I appreciate that. Kind of sorry you can't stay. We're got some stuff we're going to be going over tonight. So, but thank you for popping in and liking and sharing the stream, helping out there. Hopefully we can get some more people in here soon. No, anyways, we got 3 people in here now. Goodness. All right. So, let's see. We got 3 people in here now. So hopefully if you'll stick around for a few moments, at least get started here instead of waiting all the way up to 8 minute mark. Maybe we can start at 5. Okay, well, I guess he dropped out again. Anyways, I guess I'll wait a few more minutes, see if anybody else shows up. Yeah, so anyways, do 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 do. Do 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 do. Gather together are the world's most powerful heroes. Do 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 do. All right, 3 people. Let's see. All right, so now we got back up to 3 people, so that's good. Wait for a moment. Now back down to 2. All right, so we're just, as I said, we're just waiting on see if more people show up. Let's see. Always, I do appreciate any and all likes and shares. Yeah, we're back down to 1 now. Oh man. All right. Anyways, okay. All right. So now we're coming up on 7.5 minutes here. 2 people viewing. All right, let's see. Anyways. All right. So when we hit the 8-minute mark, I'll probably start talking a little bit about what's on tap for tonight. And I do have like 5 stories to go over tonight. 5 articles and running in the comments we're going to go over. Including actually a couple of video game articles. Um, all right, so let me see now. All right. So, anyways, let me do one more thing here, and then hopefully some of this will work a little better here. Let's tap. Alrighty then. So, all right. So, with that being said, go ahead and talk about what's on tap for tonight. We're already past the 10-minute mark here. So, as I said, I do have 5 articles to go over tonight, including a little more news on the Netflix Sandman show. One of the producers says the John Constantine gender swap. Um, they did it because Neil Gaiman wanted it to be as inclusive as possible, in quotes right there. So we'll find out a little bit more about that. Also, let's see now. Funny, he didn't care about it being all that inclusive when he originally wrote the character, but all of a sudden now he apparently cares about inclusivity. It sounds more like he's just pandering to people. And as I said, we're gonna get into video games. We have a couple of video game articles tonight. Is apparently, at least on the video game side of it, the Pokemon company is embracing wokeism as it announces a multi-million campaign to support, quote, social equity. Elsewhere, we're going to look at, according to Frank Martin from Batting in the Commons, the 10 most underutilized Batman villains. And also, there's a little bit of stuff going on at Marvel. Is Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered mod replacing LGBT pride flags with American flags banned by Nexus mods. So, and there's a rumor going out there that Disney may be getting the streaming rights for the entirety of the latest chapter of the Bleach anime, the Thousand Year Blood War arc. So, with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started here on this. So, here we go. Plus, of course, we do have the wrestling roundup a little later on. So, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get going on this. Okay, so here we go. Alrighty then. Alright, so the Sandman producer says John Constantine gender swapped for Netflix series because Neil Gaiman wanted it to be, in quote here, as inclusive as possible. Article by J.D. Augustine, published yesterday, the 15th. It's primarily a television thing, but anyways. So he didn't create the character. Neil Gaiman is standing by his decision to gender swap the curmudgeon wizard, John Constantine, for his appearance in Netflix's live-action adaptation. Well, it is true that Neil Gaiman didn't originally create the character, but he did alter the character quite a bit for Vertigo back in the 80s there. Live-action adaptation of The Sandman. According to Gaiman and series producer Alan Heinberg, the change was made because the two saw the Netflix series as an opportunity to look at the lore with a fresh set of eyes and retell it through a modern lens. Quote, it was incredibly liberating to be able to look at everything in Sandman from a perspective of now, unquote. Gaiman told UK news outlet Express. Yeah, because really looking at everything through today's eyes is such a great thing, right? Just pushing the agenda. That's why a lot of the mainstream comic sales are tanking. That's why DC, aside from Batman, can't really get anything to sell. And now they're, of course, as we learned the other day, they're going to try to turn Batman gay as well. And it's not just one of the newer characters. They're now looking to turn Bruce Wayne gay. And historically, that's not necessarily the first time that it's been suggested that Bruce Wayne was gay. But that's how the whole mess with the comic that led to the Comics Code Authority got started. But anyways, that's different. That's a different tale for a different day. So anyways, quote, and getting to ask, in smaller quotes, well, if I was beginning writing this story now, would I still do that? Unquote. Probably wouldn't. He probably wouldn't if he's looking to pander. He thinks that that's going to make him more money is just to pander to what's cool or rad or fab or whatever. Quote, which was just freeing, unquote, he added. Quote, We were able to give a new sense of balance to the characters, I think, unquote. This quote unquote sense of balance, added Heinberg, um, was found by reimagining um, the series cast as more diverse than the original counterparts. Of course it was, because we just have to push the diversity agenda so hard that, because we want to attract the minorities, right? Even if the sales numbers don't agree with you, even if you turn off a lot of like longtime comic book fans, even if that means that you chase them away and they go, and instead of buying your books, they decide to go out and buy independent comics, or if they really want to feel for the good old days, they'll go back to like the works of Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster and Will Eisner and George Brenner and Fred Guarnier and Claire S. Moe and Craig Fleisel and the like, and Alex Raymond. So let's see. Quote, from the very first pitch, Neil was already thinking about ways to make the show as inclusive as possible, unquote. He explained, quote, the Sandman comics were leagues ahead of everybody in the late 80s in terms of depiction of women, race, sexuality, and gender, unquote. Well, that may be true. But the difference between what they did in the 80s and what they're doing now is that in the 80s they didn't sacrifice a gender or message for a story. They didn't like sit there and make it about. They didn't sit there. They still kept it within the context of the story, and the story, good story that made sense, not pushing at any kind of particular agenda. Neil was talking. Quote: Neil was talking about all those issues long before anybody else was, especially in a medium like comics. Unquote. The producer added, quote, but in creating the Sandman for 2022, we knew we wanted to expand the world and make some changes, unquote. I heard somebody knocking, but I guess they're not. Okay. Let's see. The idea of doing something just to do it at the sacrifice of everything else is not always a good thing. Okay. To make any particularly legacy characters, like Grand Sandman may not be a legacy character, but this extends to like Superman and Batman as well, and Wonder Woman. To make these kind of changes, right? I mean, look, for his time, William Moulton Marston was considered pretty progressive for his time, but even he wouldn't have pushed things to this level. Those of you who don't know who William Moulton Marston is, he's a guy who he was a psychology professor who created Wonder Woman. He also was the inventor of the lie detector, and he was also involved in a polyamorous relationship in which he lived with his wife and his lover. The two were women, obviously, but he was into some pretty interesting stuff. So, anyways, in the case of Constantine, these changes see Doctor Who actress Jenna Coleman take over the role from the Arrow versus Matt Ryan, albeit in a new and separate continuity. Still a descendant of Johanna Constantine, who is also portrayed by Coleman, Netflix's version of the Hellblazer shows up briefly in Sandman's first season to help Dream retrieve a bag of his sand from one of her ex-girlfriends. Constantine is not the only member of the Sandman mythos to have received such a reimaging. Not only does the series race and gender swap a number of the Endless, most notably Death, and race swapping Death makes so little sense. Okay, the idea of having Death as a pale white individual, somebody who looks kind of ghostly, is actually quite apropos for the character. Okay, instead of making her black, just so you can say, "Oh, look at this!" We're progressive. We're diverse. We're diversity. That's the next thing. Because essentially, regardless what your skin tone was in this lifetime, it doesn't matter in the next lifetime. First off, and second off, as your body gets buried into the ground over the years, it continues to decay to the point where the skin, the flesh, eventually dissolves off, and all there is skeleton. And skeletons tend to be chalky white or gray. So, but it also does so to Lucifer himself, who is portrayed in the series by Game of Thrones and Star Wars actress Gwendolyn Christie. Now, in the case of Lucifer, they mean like the devil here. In some ways, it's okay. The devil, even though the form he primarily takes, is the red man with the horns and the pitchfork or trident, but he can take on any form. Okay, he can take on any form he needs to. We saw this, of course, in Powerpuff Girls, where he was actually. If you think about it, even going back to the Powerpuff Girls of the '90s, they're on Cartoon Network, right? Now on there, they just simply called him. They didn't say devil or Lucifer, Morningstar, or Satan or anything like that. They just simply called him, recognizing that he was primarily a male. But when you heard the voice, he could do. He could. It's almost like you were blending a male and female voice in there. But anyways, further, The Sandman might not be the only DC production to feature a new take on the reluctant Justice League Dark member, as a J.J. Abrams produced HBO Max series that turns the sassy wizard into a BIPOC. Okay, is reportedly still on track. Yeah. All right. Hey, Rick. Yes, and I did try to call you earlier. I wanted to know how you might feel about doing 2 weeks in a row because I want to know if you wanted to do next Friday as well, the 26th, if you were able to do so, because RJ starting, he's decided to switch his LCS shows to Fridays now, or every other Friday, so he won't be able to co-host next week. So I was wanting to know if you would be interested in coming on next week as well. So the 26th and then September the 2nd. So I'd like to hear an answer from you ASAP, just so we have it. And thank you for the like and the share. I do appreciate that. And hopefully you'll stick around as we look more at these articles here. This is the first one here. Anyways, let's get back to the articles. There we go, that one. Yeah, next year. All right, now I know Rick, you just got here, but I'm actually doing a couple of video game articles tonight because I can do that. Okay, I'll probably talk to you a little bit more about it later. So next Friday, so this Friday I got Chris and Diane on, and then the next 2 Fridays you'll be on. So all right, thanks, Rick. Anyways, getting back to these articles here, I explained earlier too in my show here that I was going to be doing doing a couple of video game articles that tangentially connect to what I normally cover here. So this is the first one here, the video game articles. I'll fill things out a bit. Okay, so here we go. Pokemon Company embraces wokeism, announces multi-million-dollar campaign to support quote-unquote social equity. Here we go with another SJW messaging point again. Article by Ryan Pearson, published earlier today. The video game segment. So the Pokemon Company International, also known as TPCI, have announced that they will dedicate $25 million to children and social equity charities across 5 years. Quote, for 25 years, the Pokemon brand has been delivering joy and entertainment to fans around the world through video games, the Pokemon trading card game, animation, and more, unquote. The official statement began. The document also points out that the company is committed to donating, quote, a minimum of $25 million US dollars over the next 5 years to organizations dedicated to improving the lives of children and supporting social equity. Well, I guess in some respects that's kind of okay, but social equity, does that mean that's making it so everybody's got the same, has the same results? Because the problem is that then you're teaching, you're basically breeding dependence that way. Quote, the Pokemon Company International is grateful for the opportunity to give back to communities in which it operates and where Pokemon has been so warmly received since it was first introduced. Company President Kenji Okubo praised. He explained the popular Pocket Monster. And as always, guys, of course, feel free to, if anything catches your attention or whatever, feel free to comment or ask questions. If I can answer the question, I'll do my best to do so. He explained the popular Pocket Monster franchise, quote, is a brand that immediately sparks joy and has captured the imagination of kids around the world for 25 years. With its universal themes of adventure, friendship, and perseverance, which is true. Yeah, that's true. It has also been welcomed into the lives of an incredibly diverse fan base in countries around the world, unquote. Quote, We are dedicated to leveraging that unique ability and the support we've received from our broad community of trainers to be a positive force in the lives of children and create a more equitable, inclusive world in which all can flourish. Okubo promised. The only problem is that you eliminate drive. You're just building robots here. You're not. People are going to develop. People tend to develop better when you're not trying to micromanage everything. You're not trying to make everything equitable. You know. You know. It's just a fact of life that life is not always fair, and that people have to deal with that. You know. The company's statement specified, quote, the $25 million will be realized primarily as monetary donations to a predetermined group of organizations that support children, help create equitable communities, or a combination of both, unquote. However, some of the donations will come in the form of gifts. Quote, the gift of play in the form of in-kind donations of Pokemon trading card game and Pokemon Center products will round out the commitment and be provided to groups who are able to distribute toys and games to families and children in need. All right, well, that sounds kind of nice. Again, though, you should always push kids to do their best regardless, not just wait for somebody to hand them something, And that's the problem with social equity, is that you're by embracing that thought process, you're just creating a dependency culture. Just creating and enabling a dependency culture. Nobody will really try if they don't feel they have to. Yeah, no problem. So about 25 in a year. Not sure what the company is worth, but that sounds like a low number for them. Seems like they are just virtues. Yeah, that in a way, Rick, I think you have a point there. I think you have a point. Anyways, the company's endeavor seeks to establish long-term strategic partnership with the aforementioned organizations in an attempt to offer support, quote, year over year for at least 5 years, unquote. The statement further notes that, quote, additional organizations that reflect the company's philanthropic mission may also be added over the course of the initiative. Quote, as a brand with a worldwide fan base and as a global corporate citizen, the Pokemon Company International has identified groups operating in 3 geographic categories: global, regional, and local, unquote. They elaborated. Quote, organizations that operate without borders and serve children in need in locations around the world represent the first category, in other words, global. While the regional level includes organizations operating within countries where the Pokemon brand has a significant presence across Europe, Latin America, North America, and Oceania. Unquote. And just in case you're wondering what Oceania is, that's like kind of South Pacific. It's specifically like Australia, New Zealand, Tasmania, that area. Quote, lastly, the Pokemon Company International will be partnering with groups serving the local communities where it has offices in and around Bellevue, Washington, and London, United Kingdom, unquote. The statement concluded directing readers to the Pokemon Company's Inclusion and Social Impact webpage. Along with their declaration of supporting diversity, equity, inclusion, and employee resource groups, quote, in parentheses, having been established since at least July of this year, the Japanese media titan lists 41 quote unquote philanthropic partners. These include the American Library Association, Global Giving, Kids Out, the National. I want. Don't know if I want to know what that one is. Kids Out. Is this an organization about having kids come out of the closet, as it were? I'd say investigate that group for child exploitation. National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, Save the Children, and many other charities dedicated to helping children find safety, education, and support. The charities also include support for marginalized communities such as 100 Black Men of London, Black Girls Code, Interfaith America, Young Women Empowered, and more, of course. Everybody's got to play the victim. We have 4 here. Hey, Robert. Hey, Cross. I finally read Canadian Shield, and I got my 7 cards in the mail. All right. Some also deal with civil rights groups, such as the AAJC, Asian Americans Advancing Justice Center. Shouldn't that be AAAJC then? And Legal Defense Fund. The latter is a partner of Black Lives Matter and had previously attempted to sue the state of Florida over the Combating Public Disorder Law, or anti-protest law, as the LDF framed it. Well, no, I think the Combating Public Disorder Law was basically a law put in there that says, yes, you do have a right to protest, but you don't have a right to riot. All right. The law was signed in 2021, enabling select elected officials to appeal against reduced law enforcement budgets that would affect their ability to handle riot. Okay, so the law was signed in 2021, enabling select elected officials to appeal against reduced law enforcement budgets that would affect their ability to handle riots and unlawful assemblies, along with, quote, reclassifying the penalty for an assault committed in furtherance of a riot or an aggravated riot, unquote, prohibiting online intimidation and other prohibits against rioting. So basically, yeah, in other words, what it sounds like is the law was put into place to, like, say, okay, no, we can't cut the police budget. We can't cut the sheriff's budget because if we do, we're not going to be able to handle it when these people start to riot. You know, they can protest. Yes, they can. The Constitution does guarantee peaceful protest. But once you cross the line, once you start damaging property, once you start assaulting people, once you start setting fires, it's no longer a peaceful protest, and you're committing a crime. And the police, and if you riot like that, and the police beat the you know what out of you, you deserve it. Returning to the one brand that overshadows Star Wars and Marvel, $25 million may actually be mere loose change to them. The company reportedly made 1.6 billion. Yeah, Rick, you may have made a very good point earlier when we were talking about this. Yeah. Let's see what you're saying here, Rick. Oops. Well, yeah, good point there, Rick. Yeah, you're right. You're probably right on it. Could be one of those things. It could be a charity that involves getting kids to get out more. You've got a point there, but considering considering the times we're living in, I almost get the impression that it may be that there may be an idea of pushing the whole idea of let's get kids out of the closet, as it were. Awesome, Robert. So enjoy Canadian Shield. A Shield was fantastic. Page Turner with hints of adventuring. Okay. Definitely get issue 2. And Snow Maiden issue 1. All right, well. One as well. Alrighty then. So anyway, let's continue on here with the all right. So let's see about that. All right. So, anyways, yeah, but as I was saying earlier, I think Rick, you may have made a good point here because here the company reportedly made $1.6 billion in sales over the prior fiscal year and ending February 2022 with operating profit at $460 million and net profit of $320 million. So yeah, that $25 million might just be a drop in the bucket, as it were. For further comparison, mobile game Pokemon Go has generated $6 billion across 6 years since it launched. An additional $1 billion since the prior year's record. In 2019, mobile gotcha game Pokemon Masters made $25 million in its first week in revenue. Wow. What do you think? Let us know on social media. Well, I think that, as Rick just mentioned, could be their virtue signaling. Could be their virtue signaling. All right, so getting back to the articles here. Yeah, and of course, feel free to share your links as well. That's always welcome here as well. Anyways, now getting ready to move on to the next article here. Alright, so let's see now. Oh, yeah. Alright, let me just do something real quick here before I get ready to, you know. Alright, so anyways, we're about to get into a couple of comic related articles. Anyways, here we go. Alright, so the 10 most underutilized Batman villains, article by Frank Martin, published on August 16th, 2022. Published earlier today, basically. When a comic character is as old as Batman, it's no surprise that he has such a wide and expansive rosters of villains wanting to take him down. He's also a fairly unique character in the fact that those same villains range from the deadly and sinister to quirky and weird. Even non-comic fans know the classics that have solidified their place in pop culture, such as the Joker, the Riddler, and Catwoman. In fact, for those of you who may not remember this, the Joker and Catwoman both, I believe, both made their debuts in Batman #1 back in 1940. So, a little comic history for you there. But true comic fans know that Batman has an entire roster of underutilized villains that deserve more attention. Number 10, Man-Bat. At first glance, Man-Bat might seem like a cheap villain that just reversed Batman's name to capitalize on a monster trope. But his story is quite tragic. He's a scientist stuck between being a good person and controlling his violent animalistic tendencies. While not an A-list villain, Man-Bat is quite popular and did just recently finish his own miniseries, but the character still has a lot of potential as a Batman adversary that fans deserve to see more of it. Man-Bat, of course, is Dr. Kirk Lindstrom, who, at least in the DCAU, injected himself with some bat serum, which would turn him into a human-like bat. Number 9, Anarchy. Anarchy is often viewed as a secondary villain. He's someone usually thrown into the mix to challenge Batman, but not really to pose as the main threat. Symbolically, he is a great reflection of Batman and has the potential to be a lot more dangerous. Like most Batman villains, Anarchy is not so much a physical threat as he is an ideological one. There's a strong possibility he could create a movement within Gotham that Batman would struggle to combat. Now, basically, just so you guys know, in a way, I'm actually a little surprised they don't use Anarchy more either, because Anarchy, as I recall, would be would be almost an SJW's wet dream. Okay, Anarchy, like a lot of what Anarchy would do, he was, he'd play on the whole Robin Hood trope of rob from the rich, give to the poor. You know, he'd be like all into this, all into the SJW narrative and all that. He was basically, quote unquote, he was SJW before SJW was cool. You get what I mean by that. So, Professor Pig, number 8. Professor Pig represents a body horror side of Gotham that writers often touch upon. But never fully embrace. Like so many Batman villains, his appearance might appear goofy, but that doesn't mean he isn't terrifying. In a straight up fight, Professor Pig probably wouldn't last very long. That's not the point of his character, however. There are plenty of ways for him to be a threat and do serious damage. Most notably, his creative use of sadism as a weapon. Right now, before I continue here, I gotta step away. I gotta go off camera here for a quick moment. I'll be right back. Just gotta step away from the computer for a moment here. All right, I'm back. There's some personal stuff here. Anyways, getting back to the article here. And I thank you guys for the likes and the shares. That helps. Zaz, number 7, Zaz. We need the 10 underutilized villains in Batman. On the surface, Victor Zsasz probably represents the most grounded and realistic Batman villain. He's a serial killer, kind of which unfortunately exists in real life. Only thing that places him in the comic book world is his tendency to count his kills through tally marks on his body. So basically, what they're saying is this guy is a serial murderer, and for every victim, he just kind of takes a knife and just slashes the skin. So it showed the number of kills he had. Again, Zaz is more of a secondary threat that other villains might use to do their bidding, but that doesn't mean a story featuring Zaz as the main threat can't be profound. If Batman's ultimate goal is to stop crime, then a Zsasz killing spree definitely falls under that banner. 6. Batmite. Oh, they're calling Batmite a villain here? I know they call Mr. Mick Spitlick a villain for Superman, but Batmite, he's dorky, he's a Batman wannabe, but I don't really think of him. I don't think most people think of Batmite as a villain, but let's see what Mr. Martin here has to say about him. Batmite is more of a nuisance rather than an actual villain. Yeah, that's the general consensus here of most people. He even considers himself Batman's greatest fan. But there's something oddly scary about any being that has that much magical power. So many of Batman's foes are grounded in real abilities or violence that he doesn't often get to tangle with a threat like Batmite. There's a lot of potential to mine between this magical imp and the Dark Knight. The correct writer just has to come along and tap it. And I don't think they mean tap the rear end either. Don't think they mean that. Number 5, Killer Moth. The Killer Moth seems to be a villain that was created for the sole purpose of simply being a villain. He had a costume with gadgets and committed crimes so that Batman could stop him. Nothing more. The character could be so much more, though. Now, granted, I can see his point there. Some of the things I've read on the Killer Moth before. Killer Moth is the idea of Killer Moth to the underworld is Killer Moth is to the underworld what Batman is to the Gotham City Police Department. He's basically the anti-Batman. That's how they sometimes describe Killer Moth. Killer Moth, in fact, was actually set to be I guess the first villain Batgirl Barbara Gordon actually faced off with. They even depicted that in the unseen Batgirl pilot back in 1969. So, recently, writers have sought to turn the Killer Moth from a persona into an actual monster. It was a valiant attempt to make him more interesting, but perhaps a more dangerous and nuanced version of the character should return. In other words, I think what they're saying is maybe if they darkened up the anti-Batman aspects of who he is, that would probably be more successful. I think that's what they're getting at there with that. Let's see. And you guys haven't commented in a while, but okay, we would appear to have 5 viewers now. Yay! 5 viewers. RJ's here. Let's see. I would like to see that Batgirl pilot. Heard about it. I never been able to find. Yeah, because they never released it. Rick. Reason nobody's ever seen it. I'm sure a lot of us have heard about it. It was never actually released. So they scrapped it basically. They're all inspired by the clock. Anyways. Anyways, getting back to the article here. Mad Hatter. Now there's been a couple of very different interpretations of the Mad Hatter. Okay. Both have claimed to be Jervis Tetch, I believe. The one Mad Hatter probably the most famous of the two Mad Hatter characters is more or less the guy who looks like the Mad Hatter who uses mind control technology. And then there's the Mad Hatter from like the 66 live action Batman show, in which they depict him as just somebody who uses hats as a theme, for his crimes. Let's see what Mr. Martin has to say about the Mad Hatter here. The Mad Hatter is definitely one of Batman's more quirky villains. He has been depicted in many ways, from goofy to intellectually proficient, but both can be equally dangerous. That's true. The Mad Hatter is a double threat with his mind control abilities as well as his fanaticism with Alice in Wonderland. Rarely is he featured as the main threat in a story, but the opportunity is there for him to be portrayed quite darkly. Actually, though, that's not entirely true, because I know throughout his appearances in the DCAU and Batman the Animated Series, the new Batman Adventures, and maybe not Justice League, but in at least in the Batman shows there, he was depicted a few times as the main villain. Obviously there was his debut in Batman the Animated Series, which he was obsessed with. He was a scientist for Wayne Enterprises, and he was obsessed with a receptionist who happened to be named Alice. So, let's see. The architect, as we move on here. Architect, who is the number 3, we're counting down here. The architect was mainly a one-off villain specifically created for a very specific kind of story. Bruce Wayne wasn't even in it, as Dick Grayson held the title of Batman during that time. He is a descendant of a family that was screwed over during Gotham's early days, and so wanted to take revenge on the prominent families responsible. The story was wrapped up nicely, so there hasn't been much opportunity for the architect to return. That doesn't mean he can't, though, as fans deserve to see how Bruce would react to the villain. Calendar Man, number 2. And this character has also been used quite a bit. Mad Hatter has been in the Arkham game. Yep. Yeah, there's been Calendar Man and Calendar Girl. So I'm not again. What did I do now? Anyway. Apparently that all right, there we go. Finally able to get it to work there. But anyway, okay, Batman's villains are probably most notorious for being crazy. That's why Arkham is such a good place for them. Calendar Man embodies this psychopathic obsession well, and should definitely be explored more. He's often seen as more of a sophisticated killer rather than a physical threat. Okay, so that's not the Calendar Man that I know. The Calendar Man that I'm more aware of, and sure RJ, you're aware of him too, is the criminal who, and Calendar Girl as well, are the criminals that basically use the calendar as a theme for their crimes. It's like they'll commit a Christmas crime, and then a New Year's crime, and then a Valentine's Day crime kind of thing. Although what I never knew of him as a psychopath, sociopath. Here you go, Rick. Oh, so I guess RJ found it then. RJ found that link. Okay, I never thought they put it. I knew they didn't. They never really released it. I didn't know if anybody had actually put it out there. So, but anyways, let's see. So he's typically in a Hannibal Lecter-like role behind bars. Perhaps it's time to unleash Calendar Man on the streets of Gotham as a true cerebral challenge for the Dark Knight. And the number one most underutilized villain, Batman villain, the ventriloquist and Scarface. Oh, this is a very interesting pair too here. The interesting thing about the ventriloquist and Scarface is that their ultimate dynamic has never quite been explained. But that is what is so appealing about the character. There's always the question about who is really calling the shots. The ventriloquist was recently featured nicely in a Tom King story, but ultimately the character is best when wrapped in Gotham's organized crime atmosphere. While other crime bosses often rise to the top, perhaps it's time for this strange pair to take control. Yeah, basically you have an individual here in Arnold Wesker, who I guess was at one point an actual ventriloquist, and something just, and the guy who comes out as, the guy who we see as his dummy is actually just a personality. It's like he's, Wesker suffers from multiple personality disorder. So yeah. So anyways, that's all for that article. So now we'll get to the next one. This one has a tangent tie to comics. It's more of a video game article. This next article, but it does have kind of a tangent tie to comics because it is Marvel related here. So on Pounding the Comments, they mark it as censorship, video games, and sports. I think that did something. Anyways, Marvel Spider-Man Remastered mod replacing LGBT pride flags with American flags banned by Nexus Mods. Article by Ryan Pearson, published earlier today. This censorship in video games. So let's see what this one's all about. Of course, again, this has a tangent connection to comics because it's Marvel. A mod removing LGBT flags from Marvel Spider-Man on PC has been banned from Nexus Mods in less than 24 hours. The now banned mod was called, quote, non-Newtonian New York, unquote, created by user, quote unquote, Mike Hawk, undoubtedly a pseudonym, as stated. The mod removes LGBT pride flags from buildings in the Insomniac games Spider-Man and replaces them with the U.S. flag. So are they going to now try to sit there and say, like, somebody, maybe it's Mike Barron who's doing this? Quote, tired of Sir Isaac shoving his fancy light show in your face everywhere? This removes them and replaces them with the Stars and Stripes. The quote-unquote Sir Isaac in question refers to the mod's header image showing Sir Isaac Newton experimenting with light and producing a spectrum. An onlooker in the art reads, quote, "Dude, stop," while a large cross is over the spectrum itself. In short, the mod avoids depictions of LGBT or pride. The mod generated 168 posts by users at the time. It was archived, though the main page archive shows 211. The same day it was uploaded to Nexus Mods, most feature scorn and disgust at the mod, and those who showed approval for the mod possibly did so in jest. Genuine support cannot be ruled out, though. It had 353 unique downloads as of its last archive, and a total of 31 endorsements. In light of the event, users of several subreddits have also claimed to be sharing the mod through other file hosting websites. Speaking to We Got This Covered, Nexus Mods stated they had taken down the mod, banning the user and their alternative account for good measure. A spokesperson told the outlet that both the user and their mod are no longer welcome on Nexus, unquote. The gamer adds the mod was available on the website for less than 24 hours. So again, if you guys have anything you want to add to this. Awesome, thanks, Critical Blast. All right, so anyways. In 2020, ahead of the U.S. presidential election, Nexus Mods announced they would, quote, invoke an outright ban on mods relating to socio-political issues in the United States, citing that, quote, a spate of provocative and troll mods being uploaded based around current socio-political issues in the United States, featuring low-quality mods expressing quote-unquote polarizing views. Oh, it sounds like translation there is they were getting people who were supporting President Trump on there, so they had to keep them banned. Or try to get them banned or keep them banned. What have you. Anyways, I got to step away from the computer for a quick moment. I'll be right back. Just got to do a couple quick little things. I'll be right back, though. I will leave you guys some music to listen to while I'm gone. All right, I'm back. As always, guys, feel free to comment on anything catches your attention. Anyways, get back to the article here. Let's see. Quote, a small but vocal contingent of our users are seemingly not intelligent or grown up enough to be able to debate the issues without resorting to name calling and baseless accusations without proof, indicative of the wider issues plaguing our world at this time, unquote, resulted in Nexus mods deciding to quote, wipe our hands clean of this mess, unquote. Actually, I guess then it sounds like what they were trying to do there then was just, just take, which may have been a wiser thing to do if that's what they were trying to do. If just say, so we're not going to allow people to talk politics here at all, no matter what side you're on. So if they handle that equally, then power to them. But in earlier news, Insomniac Games did not react well to head of PlayStation Jim Ryan telling staff to, quote, respect differences of opinion, and that PlayStation is a community, and its community are, quote, multifaceted and diverse, holding many different points of view, unquote. Along with a $50,000 donation to the Women's Reproductive Rights Assistance Project, a pro-abortion group, Insomniac Games sent a, quote, near 60-page, unquote, document filled with employees' issues to PlayStation leadership and Ryan. So, okay, so Insomniac Games is they're the liberal ones in place. So there would be material repercussions for us as a wholly owned subsidiary, among other things. Any progress that we might make in helping change, brackets here, Tony Interactive Entertainment approach would be stopped dead in its tracks, unquote. Insomniac Games CEO Ted Price reportedly said. So basically, sounds like PlayStation is taking the David Zaslav approach. Why, or lack of a better term, Insomniac Games seems to be taking the old guard approach, or the woke approach, as it were. Well, we'd also probably be severely restricted from doing important public-facing work in the future, Price decried. It is worth pointing out that Insomniac Games included a Black Lives Matter mural in Spider-Man, Miles Morales as a side quest reward. One of the SIE did not deem necessary to remove at the time. What do you think? Let us know on social media in the comments. Yeah, I believe this is gonna get a little hairy here after a while. It's even dimmer now than before here. Anyways, I think I got to do at least four of the 5 articles, and so. All right, so this right here is going to be the last article we'll cover. This one is anime related. I hope you guys will still stick around, because you might never know if you're in. This is about the upcoming Bleach series. It's more of a rumor, but anyways, I need to, before I do continue with the article here, I do need to step away one more time. I'll be right back. I gotta make some lighting adjustments here. Right back. I'm back. Everybody. So one more article here, and then we will probably get ready for. All right. So, rumor: Disneyland streaming rights for entirety of Bleach anime, including upcoming Bleach Blood War or Thousand Year Blood War. Article by Nerdigan published earlier today. So here we go. Seems Disney may finally be entering the anime streaming wars, as a recent set of leaks suggests that House of Mouse has acquired the streaming rights to one of, if not the most anticipated series of 2022, Bleach: Thousand Year Blood War. Word of Disney's potential interest in Bleach was first heard on May 29th, when renowned series YouTuber James Hansen took to his channel to inform his followers that, quote, for the past few months, as other sources have been telling me, there has been a bit of a bidding war, in brackets, for a 1,000-year blood war between Crunchyroll and Disney Plus. Yeah, it's kind of interesting here because you would think that since Bleach was on Toonami in the past, that Toonami would have had a chance to show it on their channel as well. So you would have thought that maybe they would have given Toonami a chance to show it on their show. But anyways, quote, Bleach is a very anticipated show, said Hansen of the situation. Quote, Disney and Crunchyroll know this to some extent, but Bleach has an extremely high price tag on it, and for the right reasons too, unquote. At the time, he then speculated, quote, because of this, the fact of the matter is that Disney has money and Crunchyroll just simply do not. And especially with all the money I imagine Crunchyroll has been putting into the mass amounts of licensing for this fall season, in particular Chainsaw Man. Yeah, basically, and trying to build a monopoly and trying to do Funimation and all that. So yeah, when the Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War anime was announced at Jump Fest of 2022, Viz Media revealed they acquired the exclusive worldwide rights, excluding Asia, for the series. So, meaning that I'm guessing that probably means Viz Media will be the ones who will be dubbing it. So, the exclusive acquisition included the rights for video on demand, home video, electronic sell-through, and television releases of the upcoming anime, as well as all related merchandising. Though little was heard of the bidding war in the months in between July saw Hansen share a document from licensing news source License Global, which listed Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero Academia, Attack on Titan, Junji Ito collection, My Hero Academia, Spy Family, and Chainsaw Man as My Hero Academia twice. Okay, that's probably a typo. As, quote, the properties driving growth at Crunchyroll, unquote, and predict, quote, I think it's safe to presume that Bleach won't be airing on Crunchyroll, unquote. Quote, the emphasis on them bragging on Chainsaw Man is either confirmation or straight up arrogant, ignorant, quote, he opined. Quote, If this is true, expect a reaction in a pissed off way. Unquote. Then on August 12th, this past Friday, Hansen uploaded a new video announcing that, quote, they won. Disney won the rights to Bleach, unquote. Noting that, quote, nothing is going to be affected in the Japanese market because this is strictly on the international front. The YouTuber explained that the reason for this bidding war was the fact that, quote, Viz doesn't have an online service, unquote, and thus needs to sublicense their properties to various partnered streaming services such as Disney Plus, Crunchyroll, Netflix, and Amazon Prime. So I guess it's possible then. I guess they still could also license it to Cartoon Network for for to have it shown on Konami as well. I guess because that's a different path altogether. So we still could see it on. Of course, it's all rumors, I say so. All right. So anyway, let's see what else we have here. Not only did they secure the rights for the upcoming sequel series, but as specified by Hanson, Disney has also, quote, bought the rights to all of Bleach's catalog. Regarding the so basically what it sounds like then actually then it's probably not going to show up on Konami. The whole will probably be since Disney Plus has it for the streaming service, they may put Bleach on the regular on the Disney channels as well, Disney or XD or something like that. Also possible. Regarding the potential for the series to be simulcast, Hansen clarified that, quote, it depends on the licensor, in this case Viz Media, unquote, but also asserted that if Viz fails to include conditions for same-day simulcasting in their contract with Disney, it will send a message to Bleach fans, unquote. I wonder what the message is. In addition to Hansen's sources, further hints that Disney has pulled out the win for the Bleach streaming license were seen at the recent Crunchyroll Expo. There, Crunchyroll went all in on Mappa Productions, as seen in the streaming services hosting of both the premiere of the Blue Lock anime and a Chainsaw Man panel featuring studio CEO Manabu Otsuka and producer Makoto Kimura, as well as their upcoming streaming offerings, including Mob Psycho 100, My Hero Academia, and Spy Family, the latter, albeit only featuring the series' English language voice actors. Meanwhile, perhaps most tellingly of the entire situation, the expo featured no panels for Bleach. Of all the anime for Crunchyroll to be hesitant and underestimate, it's very bizarre for them not to invest in Bleach Thousand Year Blood War, considering Crunchyroll would not be where it is today without Bleach. It is a mystery why they would hesitate on the property. That's what they're saying is Bleach was at one time was on Crunchyroll, I guess, maybe before Funimation bought them. Maybe this leaked news, making this leaked news even more probable, is the fact that though the Bleach um, Thousand Year Blood War anime is slated for an October premiere, there has been not a peep from either Crunchyroll or Viz Media regarding its streaming plan. So again, they're specifying that this is still a rumor. Nothing has been fully confirmed by the companies as of yet, by Disney or by um, Crunchyroll. All right, let's see what our Bleach is another I've never read, but I don't hold out hope of Disney doing it right. Why would Disney make people aware of other better product? Um, it's why they buy and bury Studio Ghibli shows. Yeah, yeah, good point, RJ. Because because basically the Western woke company, and it's like you almost have to scratch your head with you almost have to like scratch your head why any Japanese company at this point would be wanting to do business with any woke company like Disney or even Crunchyroll. You know why they still want to be doing business with these people. Well, Crunchyroll, but especially over the last couple of years, how it's come out that well before they were bought up by Crunchyroll. I don't know if this practice is still going on, but how when Funimation was doing certain dubs, they would be inserting their own political beliefs in it. Let's see. See what Robert has to say here. Disney has 3 parks in Asia. I can see them shifting animation there. My question is, will their Asian studios be in Japan, Korea, or China? Hmm. I guess that's another interesting question too there, Robert. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Considering the upcoming Bleach sequel series is one of the most highly anticipated anime of the year, and that Crunchyroll would not. Okay. Yeah. We already. Yeah, I guess I already read all that. Lack of movement would be. Let's see. Oh wait, we read part of it. That Crunchyroll would not be where it was today without the viewership granted by their hosting of the original series. Should Crunchyroll actually have the license, this lack of movement would be nothing short of bizarre. Oh, look at that. Like the Disney characters all now trying to, they got a bunch of the Disney characters trying to act like they're asleep. That's kind of funny. As it stands, it's more than likely that this rumor will be either confirmed or denied at next month at either the D23 Expo or the Aniplex Online Festival. All right, so this is a rumor, of course, but it's still newsworthy that it's now whether or not you know all this comes to pass, we won't know for a while. I take it. So with that, we're at an hour. What are we already making good time here. So, is there anything you guys want to ask about, or anything you guys want to bring up? I know RJ did find it that pilot. I may even take a look at it here. But after we're done here. But is there anything you guys want to bring up or talk about for at least a couple minutes? And RJ, you may, I know I mentioned this earlier. I did start off with the Sandman story. You want to at some point go back and watch that portion of the broadcast later. Covering the Sandman television series. Let's wait and see if you guys have anything more you want to add to the conversation or anything you guys want to bring up or anything like that. Not, we might start to wind down a bit here. Well, actually, before we do that, of course, we'll do the wrestling wrap up. Got some WWE and AEW news, of course. All right, let's see. That's waiting to see if anybody got anything more they want to say here. If not, we'll probably start to run down a bit here. I just again waiting to see if again I'm just asking to see. We'll give you guys one last shot here to see if guys want to say anything more about what we covered tonight, or maybe you want to bring something else up, or ask anything in regards to Nietzsche. All right. Well, gonna give it to. If don't hear anything from you guys by the 1 hour 45-minute mark, then I will go on to wrestling wrap up here. And we got a few more seconds here for the 1 hour 45-minute mark. All right. So, all right. Well, okay. So let's go ahead and do the wrestling wrap up here a bit. So some of the news coming out of, like, of course, the WWE today. Today's Tuesday, so last night was they're of course continuing to build things towards Clash of the Castle later in the month. Also, Triple H is still continuing to build up his people, his roster. NXT's continue. Let me see what they had a good face versus face title match last night, and Bobby Lashley defended the U.S. title against AJ Styles, which Lashley retained, but was in a clean match. No dirty kicks, nothing, nothing where one of the guys turned heel or anything like that. Just a very clean one-on-one match. Let's see. Also, what else? What else happened? Let's see. Trying to think here. Oh, one of the other pieces of news that came out today as well is that up in Canada for some of their shows up in Canada, it looks like Trish Stratus will be making appearances there, helping to promote the show, which Bailey gave some clap back to Trish on that. They're looking at the possibility of having a Trish versus Bailey feud set up there. And as Bailey, along with her new group. I guess the tentative name is Control of Io Sky and Dakota Kai are looking to establish themselves more as a faction. Maybe that will help. Let's see. What else is there? Let's see. I don't think there's much more. Oh yeah, actually, one of the other big stories. This is going to be a big story for the remainder of the year. Of course, is the investigation into the hush money investigation involving McMahon. It's now talked about that WWE is reporting that the investigation is costing them some money, costing them some money and some reputation there. So we'll stay tuned for that. Anyways, moving on to some AEW news. So tomorrow night's Dynamite, among the matches set up for that include a best 2 out of 3 falls between Bryan Danielson and Daniel Garcia. The match being billed as Dragon versus Dragon Slayer, as earlier in his career, Bryan Danielson took on the ring name of American Dragon, and of course, Daniel Garcia is looking to defeat Bryan Danielson and call himself to where he can call himself the Dragon Slayer. You know, all this heating up as part of the Blackpool Combat Club Jericho Appreciation Society feud going on. Also, they're getting the trio or 6-man tag tournament started tomorrow night as the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, with a mystery partner, will be taking on La Facción La Facción Ingobernable, which in this case is including Andre Del Idolo, Dragon Lee, and Rush. And then Tony Storm will be taking on Kylan King. And I also heard that another match that was signed as well was a tag match between the Gun Club and Varsity Blondes. So the Gun Club of Austin and Colton Gunn with their dad and coach in their corner, Billy Gunn, taking on the Varsity Blondes of Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. So that's right now what looks like going on. Let me just double check that. Where I just double check that. Also, let me see something here. Rampage for that night. Did they signed anything? Rampage yet? I haven't signed anything with Rampage yet. Okay. All right. So I was just seeing if they signed anything with Rampage yet, but they haven't. So this is not showing up on Cage Match. So, anyways. So that's pretty much all the wrestling news. We're at an hour 50 now. So I guess it would be a good time to start wrapping things up with this day in each history. History! (2007) and then 2002. Okay. All right. All right. So, anyways, let's go ahead and take a look back at this day in each history. Today being Tuesday, August the 16th, 2022. Let's take a look back this day in each history. And first off, we're going to head back 60 years ago today, as on this date, 60 years ago today, there were a number of number one issues released by Dell and Goldstein. On this date in 1962, um, the first issues of 77 Sunset Strip, Fury, and Mr. Ed the Talking Horse were all released by Goldstein. Fury, this would be the one and only comic book adaptation that would be released. So only one issue of Fury based on the show, based on the show Fury, obviously. So, and then for Dell, they did they released or they put out Dracula #1, and what was the other one? Oh, The New Adventures of Pinocchio #1. So, and all these titles were pretty short titles. Like I said, Fury, they only did the one issue. But on this date, back in 1962, Gold Key would release the first issues of 77 Sunset Strip, Fury, and Mr. Ed the Talking Horse. And Dell would introduce the New Adventures of would release the New Adventures of Pinocchio and Dracula #1. So, granted, these were short series, but but at least 3 of them were based on television series. So, with that, move on to the next piece of niche history here. And we move ahead to 2002, which is 20 years ago today. On this date in 2002, the animated musical fantasy film, The Princess and the Pea, an adaptation of Hans Christian Andersen's 1835 fairy tale, was released in theaters on this date back in 2002 from Swan Productions and Feature Films and Families. Let's see. The film won 2 accolade competition awards in excellence, 2003 and 2004, both for musical score by composer Alan Williams. The film was also nominated for a Young Artist Award in 2003 in the category of Best Family Feature Film Animation. So on this date in 2002, The Princess and the Pea was released in theaters, produced by Swan Pictures and feature, let's see, feature films for families, distributed, of course, by Swan Productions. Oh, there you go. And I don't think you'd. Only 2 names that I somewhat recognize seeing before are Stephen Webb and Jonathan Firth. But aside from that, I think a lot of people really know who would be involved in this. So, anyways, then we go with that one. And now for the final piece of niche history. On this date 15 years ago today, a little bit of a sad piece of news, as professional wrestler Dewey Robertson, born, of course, Brian James John Robertson, would pass away on this date 15 years ago today. Most people would remember Dewey Robinson primarily as the missing link for his brief time in the WWF, as well as his time in World Class. Prior to that, of course, he would wrestle throughout the NWA territories, including up in Maple Leaf Wrestling, up in the Ontario area. He did spend some time in Jim Crockett Promotions, as well, in the early '80s, as well as time in Central States Wrestling. So on this date, 15 years ago today, Brian James John Dewey Robertson would pass away at the age of 66. So there we go with that, guys. I thank everybody for being here. Now, this Friday, of course, we're going to be continuing our look back to 1930 to April of 1939. We're covering comics that went on sale. This Friday we'll be focusing in on Fiction House. Jumbo Comics. We'll be, of course, reading through like Sheena, Gilda Gay, and Secret Diary of Dr. Hayward. My guest co-host this week will be Chris and Diane Tomolovich. A special programming note: I initially noted that next Friday RJ Carter would be with me next week. The thing is, as he is starting up, he has decided to change the day of his LCS show, so he will not be with me next Friday. He'll hopefully be with me on a future show, on a future date. Still figuring that out. But he's now alternating Fridays now for the LCS shows, so that he can get more of the guys out online. But next Friday, the 26th and the 2nd, Rick Piper will be with me to co-host. So over the next 3 weeks, we'll have the Tomoviches here this Friday, Rick Piper over the next couple weeks after that, and then I'll let you guys know how things pan out in terms of schedule-wise, in terms of who's going to be on when and stuff like that. So with that, guys, I thank you for being here. See, I'm going to give one last chance for you guys. You guys want to ask anything, say anything, you guys want to promote something, so go ahead and put your link in the comment section. If you want to promote anything, I know most of you have probably left right now, but anyways, just giving you guys one last chance to chime in on something there. Yeah, just giving you guys a bit of a. Oh, we actually do have a third. If you want to ask me anything, say anything, or promote a link, go ahead and do so if you'd like. And they left again, okay? Righty then. Well, we've hit the 2-hour mark, so I thank everybody for being here. I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow and throughout the rest of the week. And for more niche news and content, and I will look forward to seeing you guys back here tomorrow. Bye.